you want to learn how to make ribs that look like this, then you need to stick around. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and in today's video, we are smoking some baby back ribs. We're smoking baby back ribs at 250 degrees in some hickory and cherry smoke. These are going to be absolutely delicious. I'll show you how I start to prepare them right now. If you came here to learn how to smoke some baby back ribs, you're in the right place because I am fat, overweight, and officially approved to teach you how to do this. If you came here for dieting advice or to learn how to work out, you're in the wrong place. Please get off my page now. Let's get into these baby back ribs and start going. The first thing I do, open up my package because that's what you have to do. You can't smoke them in the package, just in case you didn't know. So I got to get these stupid things out of the package. I'm going to take some paper towels and just wipe some of this excess moisture and blood off. When it comes in the package, it comes with some extra solution that I just think isn't necessary, and it kind of grosses me out. So I just like to take a paper towel and clean it up a bit. So for starters today, we're going to trim off some of this excess fat, kind of trim up some of our edges just to make them nice and unison. We're not in a competition or anything. I'm just very particular and picky. And some of this meat down over here is really, really thin. So by the time your thick part of your ribs are nice, good, cooked, and tender, this is going to be way overcooked. But excess stuff, I mean, we're just going to take and find a bone right here, and we're just going to cut down along the side of one of these bones and just get this kind of trimmed off. Now, kind of working with a better rack, and we're going to take and cut some of this fat off right here. It's just a little bit of excess. Like all this fat right here is good. It's all going to really render down, but right here, there's just kind of a bunch of extra fat that's kind of not necessary, and we're just going to take that off without getting too much of the meat off. That's just about all we need. Now we're going to go into the back side. When it comes to pulling out the membrane, sometimes you could get lucky enough and just take your finger and shove it underneath there, and sometimes it'll peel back. If you can't get it to peel back, you just shove your whole hand underneath there, kind of set your other hand in there just to hold the rack of ribs down, and then just keep pulling up. Make sure you have a nice firm grip and pull up until it's all gone. If you're not as lucky, well, you could use a paper towel to help you out. So now we are going to be seasoning our ribs, and if you have a lot of time, the best way to do it is to put your seasoning on there, let it sit for 30 minutes, flip it over, season the other side, let it sit for 30 minutes, let it all soak in. But I'm kind of crunched on time today. I got friends coming over for dinner, so we're going to be using a binder today. This is typically what you're going to do to competition when you have a time limit. You don't have 30 hours to make the perfect rack of ribs. I always like to start seasoning the side where the membrane was. And that's because I only want to flip it once. And when I go to put this on the grill, I'm going to be putting the membrane down. So this way I flip this over once, and then it'll go right onto the grill. That way you're not flipping this over a whole bunch of times and giving the seasoning an opportunity to jump off. So we're going to start out by using a yellow mustard. You could use olive oil, you could use hot sauce. They even sell specific binders for this, but I'm just going with mustard. There's no real secret to how much you're going to use. Just get a couple nice little squirts on there. Then you're just going to take your clean bare hands and just rub it all around on there. Get your hand nice and messy and just make sure it's nice and covered with mustard. You don't need too much, you don't need too little. You just want to get it good. So now we'll be starting out with our base layer of seasoning, and that is this all-purpose seasoning. It's salt, pepper, and garlic. We're just going to get a nice little coat down of this all-purpose seasoning, and that's going to be our base layer. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come behind with whatever barbecue rub you're using. Now today I am using Joe's from Kansas City. I tried it out on some pork chops, and I thought it was really good, so I'm going to try it out on these ribs today. Then I'm going to take and kind of just pat some of this seasoning in. Kind of make sure it's sticking. Then we're going to take and we're going to flip over our rack of ribs. Get your mustard on there. Get a little bit of extra on there this time. That way you're able to season up this side and then also get some over onto your edges as well. Again, we're starting out with our base layer of this salt, pepper, garlic, all-purpose seasoning. Then come back with another layer of that Joe's Kansas City rub. Just make sure you get a nice even coat across the top and make sure you get your edges and your sides. Now we are going to let this sit for about 10-15 minutes before we put it on the grill. I'll see you guys outside in a few. Today I'm using the Pit Boss. I have it up to the temperature of 250 degrees. I'm using a mixture of hickory and cherry pellets. I think that mixture is absolutely perfect for rib. It gives it that perfect blend of sweet, robust, smoky flavors. So we're using today. We're going to go ahead and get our ribs on, and I'm going to set this bad boy just right up here like this. And I'm just going to bunch these up together. That way we get more meat in between the bones, because however you set this on here is however it's going to cook. So if you want to try to get your edges nice and straight, go ahead and do that. Get it all nice and closed up, and you're good to go. I sprayed these ribs at the 90-minute mark using a 50-50 mixture of water and apple cider vinegar. Okay, so it's time to wrap our ribs now. They've actually been out there for about 3 hours, and really what we look for is the bark, the color of the outside. We want to have that nice mahogany color, so that's how we know it's time to wrap, when you can rub your finger across and the rub isn't falling off. So we're gonna go ahead and get this. And what I did here is I have a layer of butter, my actual rub, and brown sugar. So we're just gonna take this and we're just gonna lay this flat down, just like that. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna take and we're just gonna spritz this down a little bit. I'm not gonna add a whole bunch of moisture into this. It's gonna be just fine and good enough with what's in here. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a couple pats of butter, about 2 or 3. We're just gonna lay them on there just like this. Then I'm gonna come and I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the bottom. We'll come hit this up with just a little bit more rub. And then I'm gonna take a pinch full of brown sugar. And just get a nice little pinch full of brown sugar right on the back. So now the next thing we're gonna do is actually wrap up our ribs. And the way that I do that is I just kind of take and I go over, I get one in, and I'm gonna fold this over. So I'm gonna fold this side over, crinkle it in, get this. And if you really want to make a nice extra little seal on there, you can take and kind of bunch that up, twist it in a little bit, and there you have a rack of ribs ready to go back on the smoker. And we're gonna wanna check for the temperature in about 30 minutes. After our ribs were wrapped for about 45 minutes, we checked the internal temperature and they were hitting right where we wanted them to be, right in that range of 202, 204, 206, which means that they're perfect, nice and tender. So we went ahead and pulled them off. We let them sit and rest, opened up a little bit so that they were able to vent out some of that steam. This allows the cooking process to stop. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get these ribs out of the package and glaze them to go back on the smoker for a few more minutes. So we're just gonna open up this little packet of ribs. We're gonna fold our edges in. Lift up your ribs a little bit and let some of that excess juice drain out. Then we're gonna flip our ribs over onto our tray. Get rid of this so there's not a big mess everywhere. So I have some barbecue sauce that I heated up a little bit. It's a really good idea to heat up whatever you're gonna be glazing it with, so you're not putting cold glaze on hot ribs. And we're not really here to lather this up a whole lot. We're here just to tack a little bit of this glaze on, just to give it a nice little bit of color. And what this is gonna do when we put it back on the smoker is it's gonna caramelize this glaze on here. It's gonna harden up real nice. It won't be too saucy. It's gonna add a lot of flavor and a nice color. So now that our ribs are glazed, it's time to get them back on the smoker. It's still at 250 degrees. We're gonna let them sit on there for about 10 to 15 minutes, just until that glaze starts to really caramelize onto the ribs till it gets a little bit harder and not so runny. Okay, so our ribs are done caramelizing on the smoker. This sauce is tacked up really, really nice. They look absolutely beautiful. I want you guys just to come and take a look at this. So the only thing left for me to do here is to slice into these and show you guys what they look like. The easiest way for me to cut in these ribs is to turn it over onto their back side so that way I could see where the bones are. Go ahead and slice down in between the bones. Just cut apart a couple bones here. Go ahead and just flip these back over. Take a look at how perfect these ribs turned out. They are just filled with goodness all the way around. That sauce tacked on there perfectly. Okay guys, sorry my kid would not keep quiet for this video, so he's just gonna be in here. Me and the little guy are gonna eat some ribs together. I'm gonna take a bite, shut up, and let these do the talking. Oh my gosh. You want some of that? These have the perfect flavor. The salt, pepper, garlic base layer of seasoning on top, along with that Joe's Kansas City rub. It's absolutely perfect. And I want you guys to see that bite through. Perfect bite through. They fall right off the bone, but they're still firm enough to hold up onto the bone. I gotta give these ribs a 10 out of 10, primarily because I made them and I wouldn't give myself any less. So I hope you guys like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.